Hello, hello, and welcome to the Satellite Spotlight. I am Molly Pass with Moontrip Productions, and today we are joined by Taty Fennoy. Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, I'm Taty Fennoy.
Stole your thunder there, sorry.
No. I am a content creator. I shoot a lot of music artists as well as doing like some small business promotion as well.
I love that. So like what got you into film and into kind of creating content? Were you a child of the internet? Like how did you find yourself in this job?
Yes indeed. I was a child of the internet. YouTube was always on. I would say my passion for film was definitely created from like my father. We used to go to movie theaters and movie hop and just continue to like, we'll buy one ticket and go to like 3 different movies in the day. But that definitely like piqued my interest in any type of filmmaking. And from there I was just like a student of YouTube, kind of trying to figure out what I could do, playing with whatever small camera we had at home, and just kind of upgraded, and now I have a big girl camera.
I know, we kind of wandered into this.
Yes,
I think both
definitely.
of us being self-taught. What would you say were like some early influences for you?
Yeah, I would say childhood, like one of my favorite movies growing up was Kill Bill, which I was probably a little too young to watch, but I thought that was like the coolest movie ever. Seeing like a strong female lead, I was like, this is like everything. I thought it was shot so cool, all the action. I would say now I definitely take a little bit more inspiration from like Spike Lee, and like my style's definitely changed a bit more. I do a lot more like still frames and not as much like movement action, but I really do like how stories are told from like, you know, stuff like Kill Bill, Quentin Tarantino movies. So I think like when it comes to making like trying to put together a sequence or a story, I do like to go towards that type of vibe.
I love that. Do you feel like the colors and the influence, like in seeing your work, I feel like there's a lot of powerful colors in your music videos specifically. What, I guess like, how do you develop that eye? Like, did you learn color grading on your own as well, or is that something that you kind of like, you know, studied more traditionally?
Yeah, color grading specifically, I did learn on my own. I feel like a lot of my traditional knowledge that I learned from school was like, I guess reinforcing a little bit how to use a camera. I think we both went to the same school, so like we kind of had to learn a lot of it our own. But then when it came to actual like theoretical things and how to think about film, I think it definitely helped me like mold a better knowledge. But when it comes to color grading, I kept seeing everybody else's films, and like I was like, how do they get their colors to be like that? And I just kept playing with it
until you tweak it until you get it. Yeah, I love that.
And I do like something that has like a little bit more of a color pop than like realistic, because I think it's like kind of cool to bring like a little bit of surrealism in there, you know?
Yeah,
especially music videos. It's very like whimsical a little bit.
Where did Baby Doll come from? Can you tell us about like name origin thing?
Yes, yeah. So name origin for Baby Doll goes back to my dad. That is the nickname he called me growing up. And I grew up for like the longest. I was kind of afraid to show people my work and like tell people that I even liked doing creative things. So for me, Baby Doll is like an alter ego. It's like the version of me that is like, she's not afraid of anything. She's gonna do it. She's gonna live as freely as possible, put out all of the work, and just create. So that is where Baby Doll comes from.
So what is the process for an artist of like, I have a song, I want to turn it into a music video? Like, how do you develop these concepts? Like, do they come with something ready, or are you developing it together? Like, how does that typically flow?
That's a great question. I think it's a by-project basis. I think it really depends on the artist. So I've had some artists that come to me with like, this is exactly what I want to do, and we kind of just build on that. But I've also had a lot of artists that are like, yeah, I just like the song and I just want to shoot something for it.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I know my process specifically with finding inspiration is honestly just listening to the song over and over and over again. the most important thing for me is trying to find as many different settings to listen to the song in. So like listening in the shower, while I'm driving. I really feel like while I'm driving, for some reason, I get the best, like, yeah, I get the best ideas. But I really just try to listen to the song as much as possible. And then I'll take breaks and then come back to see if like any new ideas spark. And I really do like asking, along with the color thing, asking artists like when they were making the song, what colors came to mind and like what types of, you know, like splashes of colors they'd seen, even like one image that might have came into their head, even if it's like a flower, you know, something that I can kind of try to build off of and grab inspiration from.
I love that, and kind of incorporating those like whimsical, metaphysical experiences kind of like into the tangible of the visual art that you're making. So that's really cool. I guess what advice would you have for yourself, like starting film school? You know you want to be a filmmaker, but you don't really know what to do about that. Like what advice for young filmmakers do you have?
Oh, and I know it's probably cheesy, but I mean it, like just start shooting stuff. Like I definitely feel like a lot of the opportunities that have come to me have just been like me forcing myself to put myself out there a little bit. And I would tell my younger self, like, don't be afraid to like, I guess, fail or make mistakes like for other people to see. You know, you can't put your work out there and expect it to be perfect, you know, it's gonna hold you back from starting. So I would definitely just say start, share your work, and you're gonna grow no matter what. You're gonna fail. There's gonna be some videos you're gonna take down, but putting them up there,
yeah.
Yes, putting them up there that's the hardest part of the battle, honestly.
And even I think committing to an idea and like believing that it's good enough to pursue, I guess, you know, imposter syndrome, I think, is something that a lot of artists experience, whether, you know, that's like a musical artist, like the people that you're working with, or like visual artists like us. So has anything really helped you combat that imposter syndrome over your career so far?
Yeah. I feel like it definitely still happens. Like I'm still
no matter what. We're setting up for this interview and we're like, everybody at this park thinks that we're crazy right now.
I definitely still have strong imposter syndrome, but what helps is like anytime I have a win or something that, you know, kind of getting over a hurdle, I try to really take a moment and like be in that kind of victory and being
and
like
celebrate.
Yeah, you have to celebrate and then remind yourself, like, you might, let's say you're doing something now and you messed up and it's, you know, something's not going to plan. Reminding yourself of a victory that you just had is like, okay, I'm not crazy, I deserve to be here, but I'm learning. So I think that's definitely helped, just like sitting and being like, okay, in the past 2 months, what are 3 things that I've done that, you know, I'm really proud of myself for, and really taking in those moments, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of us, especially self-taught people, learn from failure the most. So like, what is something maybe positive that came out of an initial place of failure? Anything that you learned from failing really bad first to learn that?
I would say the planning process of
the importance of pre-production.
Yes.
I think for all of us that love to just shoot things. Yeah.
Yes, there are definitely moments where like going and shooting is definitely appropriate,
you know.
But I definitely think the planning process is something I've learned a lot about. There's times where I've over-planned and it's like taught me that I need to be a little bit better with like making changes on the fly.
And just being flexible.
Yeah, and then under-planning and having to still make changes on the fly. So I think that like the pre-production process is something that I've really like grown into, and it was tough in the beginning trying to like figure out like, oh, why isn't the thing that I thought that I was gonna film turning out the way that I wanted to? And it's like, well, you didn't really
think about it.
You didn't think about it, yeah. Oh
like,
yeah.
You know, do you feel a bit of perfectionism with your work?
Oh
like,
man, yes.
I guess what have you learned in regards to that, of like, when is a project like done? You know what I mean? I think that is something that people struggle with a lot, especially editors, of like, when am I finished with something? And like, do you sort of have a process when you know that something is coming to a close project-wise. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I have been, like, for a while, I was like, I always want an editor. Like, I don't want to have to edit my own stuff. And I've been, like, this year really just working on editing my own stuff, which has been like the best decision for me to make, because it's made me learn a little bit more about like what does done look like for me.
Yeah.
And I would say pushing past the perfectionism, I realized that, like, especially when it comes to coloring, I'm super meticulous about like making sure I'm like, does that orange look a little too orange?
Yeah. Or is it orange enough?
Right.
Yeah, like
right.
Where's the line?
Where's the line? So I normally just try to like get things to where I really like it, start editing through the entire project. And as soon as I'm like, okay, when I start to realize like the little tiny tweaks I'm making, I'm like, did that actually make a difference?
Will anyone but me notice
Yes,
this?
yes.
Yeah.
And I try to focus more on like the entire project, because I'll be like, if I'm super like dialed in on, okay, I need the colors to look like this, or like the timing of the cuts, I'm like, okay, let's get this to a point that I like it, and then now let's look into the sound design. Like, let's see what other aspects.
Take a break and come back to the visual element, or vice versa. Yeah.
The breaks are needed, but I think I've gotten really comfortable with like the editing process, and now I'm like, okay, I really feel like this is good. Just realizing that like it needs done means that like you're happy with it. It doesn't necessarily need to mean it's absolutely perfect,
because it won't be ever.
And you'll never put anything out if you need it to be perfect.
And I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier. I think a lot of early filmmakers or young filmmakers feel the pressure to be perfect immediately.
Oh yeah.
And the only thing that you can do is get your films out, and they'll get better as they go, but your first one is not going to be perfect, and your second and third one, they're never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that that's always really good to keep in mind, and mindset in creative fields is really, really important to kind of keep us grounded. Well, can you tell us about a time recently that you were like, oh, you know, little kid Taty that went to the movies with her dad, like, she would be so proud of me right now? Like, have you had sort of a career moment that felt very, like, satisfying recently?
Yes, definitely. Like, the past 2 to 3 months, I was invited for the first time to like travel out of state for work. I got paid. I was like, whoa, I got paid and I get to travel.
I'm not just going for fun and shooting and being like, I'm in Tennessee this week. Yeah, like, which is what we do.
Yeah. So I've gotten to go to Nashville twice for 2 separate projects, and it's like everything was paid for, and we had some awesome locations that we got to stay in and shoot. And we were just shooting like back to back to back every day. And I know little kid Taty would there were moments, and like I know it's Nashville, and we drove. It wasn't like we flew across the country, but like something about that was just like so sobering to be like, whoa, like you're doing it. And then I came home and looked in my journal, and I had written at the beginning of the year that I wanted to travel out of state for work. And I was like, whoa, like it was such a crazy moment. And I know the baby me would be really proud of myself. So
yeah, I love that. Well, congratulations on out of state travel for work. I guess if someone was looking to collaborate with you, what are the main things that you do? Like, how can we find you? Like, how can we get plugged in and hire you to do things?
Yeah, of course. Oh, well, the best way to find me, main camera,
the best way to find me, main camera,
is on Instagram. My Instagram is madeby_babydoll, spelled BBYDOLL. But that's the best way to contact me. It's the best way to see all of my work as well. And I kind of do a little bit of everything. I like to help with just content creation all around. So of course I've talked a lot about music artists, love doing any type of music content, but I also really like collaborating with content creators. If you have a brand that you want to promote, doing short form content is something I've started to really love. So just trying to help other people, like bring other people's vision to life. And spread it to as many people as possible.
Across the galaxy.
Across the galaxy.
May we all follow our childhood baby doll dreams. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Satellite Spotlight. I'm Molly Pass with Moontrip. This is Taty Fennoy, and we appreciate you joining us.